I returned from a trip and found my suitcases sitting in the backyard of my parents' house. Taped to one of them was a note from my sister. "You are not needed here." I swallowed the humiliation and walked away. Then I went to the apartment I'd kept hidden for years, cut contact with everyone, and quietly rebuilt my life. They never saw the turnaround coming. I didn't knock, didn't text. Just stood there in the backyard reading that note until my hands stopped shaking, until the words stopped rearranging themselves into something less cruel. They didn't. I picked up both bags and walked to my car. The drive across town took 11 minutes. I know because I watched the clock the entire time, needing something to focus on that wasn't the sound of my own breathing. Nobody called that night. Nobody the next morning. By the third day, I stopped checking my phone altogether. The apartment was a one-bedroom on the 4th floor of a building nobody in my family knew existed. I'd been paying on it for 4 years, cash-funded through a checking account I opened under my middle name the month after my dad first told me they were behind on the mortgage. Something in me registered that as a warning even then. I kept it off every shared document, every family group chat, every conversation, just a key on a separate ring at the bottom of my bag. A parachute I prayed I would never need. The first week I did nothing, slept in my work clothes twice, ate cereal for dinner, let the silence sit without trying to fill it. There was a small window in the kitchen that faced a parking garage, and I spent a lot of time looking at it without really seeing it. Eventually I started sleeping normal hours, then I started thinking clearly. And when I started thinking clearly, I went to the filing cabinet I'd kept in the closet. 4 years of bank transfers to my parents' account. 47 individual transactions, ranging from a few $100s to one wire for $11,000 the summer the furnace blew. My sister's credit card debt, which I'd paid off in full twice. Once when she called crying at midnight, and once when she asked so casually it almost made me laugh. The kitchen renovation my parents did the year before last, which they told the rest of the family they'd saved up for themselves. I have the contractor invoices, every receipt, every confirmation email, every screenshot of a Venmo marked with a heart emoji like that made it smaller, dated, saved, backed up to a drive they didn't know I owned. I'm not a confrontational person. I never have been. My whole life I watched my sister escalate and my parents smooth it over, and I learned early that the quieter I stayed, the more invisible I became, and the more invisible I became, the more they took. I don't blame myself for that anymore. I did what made sense at the time, but I was done now. I forwarded everything to my accountant with one message. I want to know exactly what I'm owed. She called me back within the hour. We talked for a long time. Then I called a lawyer. I didn't reach out to my family. Not once. No explanation, no ultimatum, no dramatic exit speech. I just became unavailable. I stopped answering the calls I wasn't getting anyway. I removed myself from the shared accounts. I redirected the automatic transfers, quietly, one at a time, the way you'd close windows before a storm. What I didn't expect was how long the silence would last on their end. 3 weeks went by, then 6. I kept waiting for someone to notice the money was gone, to feel the absence and connect it back to me. Instead, my sister posted vacation photos. My mother commented heart emojis. My dad was tagged in a restaurant check-in on a Saturday night. Life apparently went on. Then 14 months later, my sister called from a number I didn't recognize. I picked up without thinking. She opened with "You abandoned us," which I thought was a strange choice of words, given that I was the one who came home to my bags in a backyard. I let her talk. She cycled through angry and then sad and then something that almost sounded like genuinely confused, like she couldn't trace the line between what they did and where things stood now. Then she said it. "Mom and Dad had to sell the house." I said, "Yeah, I know." She asked what I meant by that. I didn't answer right away. I let it sit the way she'd let that note sit, taped to my suitcase in the wind. Let her sit with it. Then she asked if I had something to do with it. I said I stopped doing something. There's a difference. She went quiet for a long time. I didn't fill the silence. I'd gotten good at that. I hung up and went back to what I was doing, which was sitting at the small kitchen table in the apartment nobody knew I had, eating cereal, looking at the parking garage through the window. It looked the same as it always did. So did I. That was the part they never understood. They thought removing me would leave a hole. It left a bill. Full story on the channel linked below.